And welcome to Lexington, Ohio for round 4 of the TFR SuperCup. My name is Rob Sutherland and my colleague is Will Vincent. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
It's a long day today. Really looking forward to it though. Mid-Ohio is a very tough track. Something that, it will really show the drivers who really are on their game in this TFR SuperCup spring season, and it will show the ones, who's really going to make a charge for the championship.
Okay, we have 27 drivers participating today. They've just done their qualification, and we're looking at a fastest top 3 actually is Nico Brandt, Oliver Brandt and Kieran Peace, who have all bested the best practice time with a 1 minute 17.192 for Kieran. The fastest in GT2 is John Mallier, who I believe grabbed that on literally the last corner of the last lap, 1 minute 19.934. Cars are on the grid now. It looks like we're going to be doing our warm-up lap. We're going to be doing it from the start-finish straight as opposed to the big straight after the keyhole. And I think, Will, you want to take everyone through the grid?
Yeah, through the grid first in the Corvette class. Row number 1 will have Kieran Pearce starting on the inside, Oliver Brandt on the outside. Nico Brandt in 3rd position, alongside him David Ward. Row number 3 is David S. Peterson, and Ian Rogers lines up alongside him in 6th. Gary Hickman and Adam Kell round out row number 4. Farouk Manzar and Carl McGurk in row number 5. Robert Stratemans and Christian Nielsen in row 6. Stephen Van Helsdingen and Tero Dalberg in row number 7. And then you've got, I made a mistake there. You've also got Philip Arth and Larry Kraut, and Bart Manning is your last driver of the Corvette classes. And moving on swiftly to the GT2 cars. In fact, I've got a little bit of an issue with my timing. Would you like to go through that, Rob?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We are one of the strange occasions we eventually do get in mixed car classes, and that's simply that there are some GT1s that have qualified in between the GT2s. So in 15th position and 16th position is John Mallier and Kimmo Surunen, and in 17th position is the GT1 car of Philip R. So I'll take you through the GT2 order. First place is John Mallier, second is Kimmo Surunen. In 3rd it is Bushell, 4th Eric Vriedhoff, in 5th Peter Kermayer, in 6th David Jordan, 7th Mark Bird. The first of the Team Shark Geimers, that's Dave Geimer, then followed by Simon Geimer. Matthew Vlasic is down the back of the grid alongside Chris Partridge. Right, okay, so we're doing the warm-up now. I believe we've just gone past the keyhole. We're on the back straight, just about to enter turn number 3, which is a little right-hand kink. And there's not a lot of wall there on the outside, is there?
There's not, no. And not only that, I mean, whilst it looks like there's some nice fast run-offs, once you come down this corner, if you get, go off track here, it's a big dip, and you literally end up, you lose so much momentum, you can't really go down into the wall. You literally do hit the wall flat out, sorry. That's what I was trying to say. But yeah, it looks like there's very big runoffs, but the wall comes up very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, this is a circuit that, from the overview, looks quite simple as we see them go through the lovely combination of corners called China Beach, and every corner has an elevation change. So, especially in these cars, and the GT1s and the GT2s, this is an incredibly difficult circuit for them to be able to stretch their legs and use the downforce.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And as you see, cars too wide at the moment. You mentioned earlier that the cars will be starting at the start-finish line rather than in the backstretch, which is what happens in IndyCar and in the Touring Car Series in real life, which makes for a very difficult transition to turn 1. Very, very, fast but tight corner, and you really see the field bunching up as you go down there, and it's not the best of places to start the race.
No, but then sometimes, as we're going to go green now, we go through the start-finish.
Green flag in the air. And this is where we see down immediately to turn 1. It looks as though there's not many problems at the moment looking down the field. Everyone's just managing to get around turn 1 okay. Oh, one car off track, sir. And that is Tero Dalberg. Tero Dalberg has a moment coming into turn 1. On the inside wall, he hits the wall, spins it, loses it under braking, hits that inside wall. Not sure how much damage he has, but that's seriously going to put down on his race.
So we see them go up the main straight of this circuit just before they go into China, the China bit. And it looks like they're all of the GT1s are through there safe. We'll just go back to GT2 see if there's any drama.
For the most part, it looks like everyone's got a really clean start. Working our way through lap number 1, it seems as though, for the most part, everyone's managed to get themselves single file. Also, we do have another car here at the moment. It looks as though he managed to save it 2 cars on the grass there in the same corner, which I think was a bit of a chain reaction. But it looks as though they both managed to get through that fine.
Turn number 9, which is a very, very difficult circuit, a very, very difficult corner. Looks like one of the TFR, which was Adam Kell, I believe he was one of the ones that went off onto the grass. It doesn't look like he's got any damage on him, but it's put him all the way back down the grid.
And sorry to bring it up only now, but Oliver Brandt is now your leader, getting the jump from Kieran Pearce on this first lap. So he's now scored as your leader. Kieran Pearce in second, David Ward third, Nico Brandt fourth, David S. Peterson in fifth of the GT1 cars.
And in the GT2s, John Malley is in first, second is Kimmo Surinnan, in third place Toby Bushell, fourth Eric Vidoff, in fifth place, David Jordan, sixth is Peter Keimer, seventh is Dave Geimer, eighth is Mark Bird, ninth is Mario Vlasic, 10th is Simon Geimer, 11th Jasper Greenway, and in 12th place at the moment is Chris Bart.
And one of the things, Rob, that we haven't talked about so far is how this is a much more difficult track than we've had the previous 3 races at the Glen, Red Merrick and Suzuka. Very, very tricky. As you see, David Ward there, he spins it, loses it. It looks like he's going to be able to... No, he hits all on the rear end of his car. David Ward there in the number 69. Big issues for him early on in this race. And I was just saying how difficult this track is. So little room for error. And I was going to say how the attrition rate is going to be so much higher here than we've seen in the previous 3 races.
It reminds me very much of Patch, where every corner wants to throw you off the racetrack. Plus, you've got some walls, you've got some gravel, all sorts of things really that can cause a lot of problems. I'm surprised David didn't come in the pit set.
No, it looks as though David stayed out. He did get, by my eyes, a substantial amount of rear damage though. That's going to hurt his progress, and he drops down to 9th in the GT1 cars.
I saw him spin across in front of the green TFR, I think Ian Rogers, I think it was. Lucky not to collect anyone. Maybe he'll stay it out, see if there's any damage for the next couple of laps, and then come in. It is a 90-minute race, we're about 7 or 8 minutes through the race currently. So there's plenty of time to come in and make some repairs he did.
But meanwhile, out front, Oliver Brandt is still your leader. He's only managed to gap Kieran Pearce by about 1.4 seconds now, the gap's up to. So it looks as though Oliver Brandt, you saw him in the last couple of races, just, staying back, conserving fuel, his tyres a little bit. But here, it looks as though he's going gung-ho at the start of this race, trying to build up that gap. And it'll be interesting, because Oliver hasn't really been leading these races at start. It'll be interesting to see how his strategy changes while he's running up front.
Maybe at the moment he's supremely confident with quite a heavy fuel load. This track does change dramatically through full fuel and an empty fuel tank, so maybe he's quite happy with his setup and the weight of the car currently.
Oh yeah, and let's not forget, these cars will change dramatically over the course of a fuel run. With the fuel going down is one thing, the tyres wearing out is another, and the last thing you want is a car that handles well at the start but will start slip sliding around come the end of the race.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of incidents when cars come out of the pits after their first change with cold tyres and with a heavier car.
But for those of you who have watched the TFR Spring Super Cup this season, as you know, the timer is ever so slightly out of sync. That is because of the telemetry that we're getting from iRacing. We believe that gap to be about 4.5, 4.75 minutes here. So we'll keep you updated as the race progresses, just so that you know when the race actually ends.
We've just watched Oliver Brandt come through one of the corners in mid-Ohio. And that corner's corner number 12, the carousel. We mentioned earlier off air that every American circuit seems to have a corner called the carousel, and this one's certainly a very difficult one. There's just a little gradient change on entry which can throw people.
And not only that, that left-hand kink as you come out onto the front stretch, that really is a lot more of a treacherous corner as you think. You've got to get on the power early to get the momentum down the front straight away, but the last you've got the power just a little bit too early as you go through that kink. And I've seen so often the car just wanting to spear left almost into pit lane as you do so. It's a similar sensation I have when I'm driving Milwaukee at times in the oval side of things, where you got on the power too early coming off the final corner there, and the next thing you know, you're heading down pit lane too quickly.
Yeah. As this is a multi-class event, we're going to have a lot of fun when some of the faster GT1 cars catch up with the Ford Cs, because there's not a lot of places to pass successfully. I've had a look in practice, and some of the Corvettes come out of corner number, they catch a draft going along the big straight towards the keyhole, and they've not fully cleared the Ford GTs before they reach the keyhole, so there's going to be some very interesting overtake.
Oh yes, we're looking live and now at David Ward in the number 69 machine. Seeing how he's doing, he said he had a moment on lap 2. It seems to affect him a little bit. His lap times are a little bit off, but he's still trying to push hard. He's 12 seconds now behind the race leader, Oliver Brandt, but he's trying to make progress. He's currently fighting Adam Kell for sixth position, as we've got Kieran Pearce. So Kieran Pearce has had a moment in the 78. Go back and see what happened to him, but he's dropped right down the order. Oh, sorry, no, he's lost connection. That's what the issue was.
That was a terrible blow. From second place, is about 1 second behind the lead, and that's probably a gift for David S. Peterson, who is currently in third place, 4 seconds behind Oliver Brandt, who's hard charging away.
So that means now that
looking back towards the GT2, John Mallia and Kimmo Surinnan are under a second, about half a second away from each other.
Yeah, I was saying in the GT1 cars, Oliver seems to have a 4.5 second lead, but in the GT2s, Mallia and Kimmo are really going for it between themselves. The gap's not really been anything more than about 7 tenths of a second all race long.
This is going to be a really hard race for the Ford GTs, because the Corvettes are very long chassis, the weight's at the front, and that's difficult over the bumps. But the Ford GTs have a lot of the weight behind the driver, so there's a bigger pendulum effect, and they're harder to catch. So you've got to be very careful over some of the corners in the circuit.
And I think as this race progresses as well for the GT2 cars, how they successfully managed to let the Corvettes by will really play a factor. You talked about how coming down these long straightaways, the GT1 cars doesn't always clear the GT2s. That could cost, you know, in the course of each overtaking manoeuvre, about half a second. So, but that half a second's a lot less than if your GT2 car trying to find space for GT1 to let them pass into one of these slower, tricky corners, or sector corners.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted, if I was driving one of the GT cars, just to make sure you stick firmly to your own line and force the other car wide, because getting offline on the back end of this circuit's pretty scary. I believe at the moment we're following car number 16, which
he's
is
under
David
pressure from Nico.
Now Nico, we touched on Nico last week, where very quick, multi-disciplined driver, so maybe we've got a Brandt 1-2 coming up here if David S. Peterson can hold him off.
Yes, and to clear up the issue from last week, they are not related in any way, shape or form, so we'll throw that one to the dogs and let that one by for this week. But it does look as though Nico, once again on a completely different type of track, is still thereabouts, and it does show just how versatile Nico as a driver is. I talked about him last week racing in a number of IndyCar series. You see him occasionally pop his hat into NASCAR, into the HPDs, and it seems to be whatever track car combination he's in, he always manages to find a way to adapt really quickly.
Yeah, and I believe Nico told me earlier in the week that they're actually second cousins, so I think they are quite related. We've had number 85, which is David Jordan, hit the wall on the back straight. He's, I believe he's got some damage. That's put his 4GT all the way down to 24th position.
And I think as well, with Peterson having to defend quite heavily from Nico Brandt, that they're losing time every lap to Oliver Brandt because of that. You know, whilst Peterson's having to drive a more defensive line to make sure that he can close off any attack from Nico, it's allowing Oliver to drive more and more into the sunset. The gap now is up to 5.2 seconds last time by. But meanwhile, it does look as though Farouk Manzoor in 4th is still dropping back from this second and third place fight.
I'm surprised with that. Farouk's been very strong when he's been racing. But I'll tell you what, looking behind him, Gary Hickman, now that's a very, very quick drive.
Oh yeah.
He's just half a second off him, so maybe Farouk's got his eyes in his mirrors a bit too much.
And if you saw the pre-race write-up on the TFR website, you would heard a lot about Gary Hickman, and he's one of these drivers that we're really expecting to do well yet again in this spring championship, Rob. You know a lot more about TFR series, having followed it for a lot more than I have, but Hickman's always a force to be reckoned with, and don't count him out going, you know, through the season.
No, absolutely. He has missed I think he has missed a round this season, but when he's on the circuit, he's very, very quick.
Yeah, I believe he missed the round 2 weeks ago. No, last week, so because of the 2.4, if I'm correct. No, he raced the 2.4, but he raced Suzuka, but he started from the back, worked his way up into 5th, but it was Road America that he'd missed.
Yeah, and Gary Hickman, of course, is in the same team as Adam Kell, so they're in Team Pseudo Racing, which are currently 3rd place in the GT1 Championship. So Adam's just behind him, about half a second behind him. So they're all closing. They're all closing on Farouk. Could be a nice little team thing.
Yeah, and if Hickman was to try and make a move on Farouk, that could potentially also allow Kell to get past if Farouk makes a mistake under pressure, or you know if Hickman manages to find a way past and Farouk's on the outside or the unoptimal lane, you could see Kell trying to make a second counter-attack at the same time, and then that would be interesting to see how Farouk will be able to react back to having to pass two teammates.
Yeah, but I love multi-class racing. It really throws up some proper little humdingers like that, especially on this circuit. I don't think you can properly stretch the car on this circuit, either car.
Oh no, not definitely. The battle is still going on between the 82 of John Malia and Timo Suleiman and the number 51 machine. They are still only about half a second apart from each other. They've pulled out though a 6-second gap to Toby Bushnell, who's running 3rd in class in the number 31 TFR car. So it looks again as though Suleiman and Malia are the two to be reckoned with in GT2. And it'll be interesting to see how this battle progresses as we come towards and past the first pit stop.
This is the longest race so far I've seen where we've still got GT1 car drivers in amongst GT2s. That just shows how much respect they're giving the circuit.
Not only that, but how difficult it is to pass, regardless of the power differential between the Corvette and the 4GT even. If you're a driver who's not comfortable with your car, then you're having to put that power down a lot later than some of the more experienced drivers. You'll have to get on the brakes a lot earlier, and it just means that the perceived advantage whittles itself away really, really quickly.
Right, I'm trying to just take a look through the field. I think Ian Rogers and maybe David Jordan have both retired. They've not classified themselves as being retired, but they're not on the. Well, they're certainly dropping back laps.
Yeah, Ian Rogers is 2 laps down, and number 29, David Jordan, is 3 laps down. Ian Rogers is on the racetrack, circulating in 25th position. David Jordan, however, is off the racetrack. So Ian Rogers is 2 laps down. We saw him have a little moment earlier on. I believe he was the one who had to take evasive action when David Ward had his moment on lap 2. I swear I didn't see any damage to his car, but we'll have a look, see what happened to Rogers.
Well, the main TV cameras currently are on the car number 51 of Kimo, who is very, very close and just about to be passed by a Corvette. So he's catching down John, and then he's got a situation where a CST Corvette number 13 of Tero Dalberg has just passed him, and it's very, very difficult through the keyhole to let someone pass nicely. Right, okay, so we've got another retirement. Looks like Mario Vlasic in the Corvette C6R has retired.
And Rob Straitman is also out of the race, right? Just as you say that.
I tell a lie, Mario is one of the 4 GT drivers. Damn my memory.
But we've been talking about this, it's like how difficult this racetrack is. It's also a very graphically intensive track, so, you know, a number of these drivers might have connection issues, especially it's prime time Europe as far as racing is concerned. And that is one of the, I wouldn't say negatives, but one of the difficulties with online sim racing. You could be having the best race in the world, and if your hardware messes up, it's just like in your car almost, you know. You could be driving perfectly, then your engine blows, or you have an issue with your gearbox. I think that's sim racing's way of playing a little bit of a levelizer once in a while.
Yeah, or your wife could be on Facebook.
What's a Facebook?
Right, okay, the leaders in the GT2 just come through the keyhole. They're getting ever closer, but I think there's a little bit of respect there. They are certainly pushing on, but it's still quite early in the race. And I don't think either of them are really letting up.
But they are still only 1.5 seconds behind Terry Dalberg, who's 12th in the Corvette class. So Malia and Suleiman could be trying to get 12th overall if they continue their relentless pursuit. The gap is up to 7 seconds between Malia and Suleiman from Bushnell in the GT2 class. Up front in the GT1s, Oliver Brandt is still is gapped it further to 6.6 seconds. He's still got Oliver Brandt with him, less than half a second behind, but the gap between Brandt and Manzur has also increased about 8 seconds now.
I think I saw John Malia twitch just as he came out of China Beach earlier, and I think Kimo just sort of went, "Whoa, steady there, I don't want to collect you." I believe Toby Bushel's had a bit of an off. Car number 31.
Yeah, and he's...
Oh no, no, I can still see him driving, so I don't know what happened there. Maybe
I believe that could have been when he was in lap traffic. I'll have a look.
Right, what you
oh no, sorry, he loses it big time going into braking zone, gets almost onto that white line, just manages to keep it off the wall by the look of it. I'm not quite sure where that is. I believe that is just after China Bend as he was coming down towards the carousel. Yes, it was.
Oh.
Just at the end of the China Bend.
Oh, okay, so what, just he turned into the S's?
Just after the S's, like.
Oh, okay, so
I'm confused now.
Through the lovely name Thunder Valley.
Yes.
I love that name, Thunder Valley. It's not even that long a straight, is it?
It's not, no.
Straight followed by
probably about a quarter-mile drag strip.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's named.
But it certainly does under with these Corvettes going around. They've got a lovely soundtrack. David
Ward, by the way, we talked about him earlier. He's still right with this battle with Adam Kell, who's, by my math, has closed up quite a bit to Gary Hickman. Gary Hickman, the Fruit Manzir. David Ward is still in that hunt. We talked about him having damage earlier. He's thereabouts. He would probably, if he didn't have any damage, be a lot closer to the front of this field, but he's making the best of a bad job, and when he comes to pit stops, I wouldn't be surprised to see him speed up a little bit afterwards as he gets a little bit of repair to his race car.
I think Nico Brandt's at the stage where David S. Peterson is holding him up just a little bit now. So we might see a lot, just say come through the carousel, we might see a lot of applied pressure on David. See how he handles it.
It does seem, though, that coming out of the carousel, through that section, Nico's not as strong as Peterson. It seems to be down the straightaways, you know, and down Thunder Valley even, and down through the keyhole. That's when Nico can get very, very close. But where it matters, where you can line up for a big pass, seems to be Peterson's just got the legs a little bit.
Yeah,
for now.
I think there's got to be a lot of lining up as well in the carousel, in the keyhole, and just as you come out of turn number 9. Because we touched on this earlier, didn't we? There's one thing catching, another thing's actually getting past before you've got another corner.
He tries to have a look down there. He was about a car length behind him, being able to sling it down the inside. But he's really does seem like he is being held up a little bit. And I say, every time Peterson has to take a defensive line, he's losing temps here, temps there, to Oliver Brandt out front. But still, these two guys are still pulling away from the battle for 4th through 7th.
Oliver must be laughing at the minute. 7.7 seconds back. The guys behind him are having a good old ding-dong. And then behind him as well, because Farouk and Gary are under half a second apart.
And I would say, I don't think Oliver Brandt is in one of these crazy strategies like Peterson ran at Suzuka last time out, where he got, what is it, 22-second lead or something, and then pitted very early. I've got a feeling that Oliver's on a... Oh, as Nico Brandt gets a big puff of tyre smoke going into turn 1 there, it did look as though Oliver's probably on a standard strategy for the moment.
Okay, that switch of Nico is setting back quite a way now, so he's got to get himself settled, and he's got to get himself pushing back up behind David now.
And it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can do it. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can do it.
Right, I believe there is a GT2 train at the moment, and Oliver Brandt is catching. This will be the first big test of the race for the leader.
And that train consists of Dave Guyman, Mark Bird, Simon Guymer, Toby Bushnell, he's had his issue we talked about earlier, and Jasper Groeneweg. These 5 cars are separated by about 2 seconds. So once Oliver gets to them, it's going to be very difficult for him to have to go through them one at a time. And while he might be able to get 1 or 2 on the straightaway, he could be held up for a good couple of corners as he tries to navigate these cars.
Yeah, we're now entering the popcorn zone. We really want to watch this happen. It's going to be great. I've noticed in practice and qualification as well, when they do come out the first corner, the 4GTs naturally slide to the right-hand side of the circuit, and it's the Corvette's responsibility to turn to the left, to cut corner number 1 a little bit sharper, and get the run-up on the left-hand side of the straight, which will mean that they will enter naturally the keyhole on the right-hand side. Sorry, on the left-hand side, on the outside of the keyhole, which is interesting, especially if you try and brake quite late.
Right, there he is. He's pretty much caught them now. In fact, he's definitely caught them. And this is where experience really comes in. Some of these guys have been racing the Corvettes or the 4GTs for a number... Well, the 4GT's not for a number of years because it's only been released recently, but the Corvette, you know, for a long time now on iRacing. But this is where the experience really shows, not only in driving the Corvette, but in multi-class racing itself. Navigating around these slower cars, as Oliver's taken 1 already. That is Jasper Groeneweg, who he's overtaken as he goes wide, goes wide off track, has to bring it back on, loses that time and that momentum. And I was talking about experience getting through this traffic, and Oliver, unfortunately, looks as though he lost a little bit of concentration there.
Yeah, so case in point, he's stuck his nose outside of the first one, and he's had it bitten off, so he's got to be sitting there going, oh, I've got to go a little bit more careful around this. I'm just having a look at the lap times as well, and Dave Guymer, who's heading up this train, which I think we called the trolley train last week, didn't we?
Yes.
He's lapping 122s, 123s, so he's well off the pace, but all the cars behind him are lapping similar times. Oliver did a 121 in the last lap, and he's looking to do the 118s, 119s.
Yeah, he lost 2 seconds on that last lap to Peterson. Obviously, Peterson's got to come through the traffic as well. As you see Oliver Brandt going down the inside there of, I believe, Simon Gamer.
Yeah, that was good from Simon. He just let him past. His position wasn't nice to Jasper either, so because they're lapping so off the pace of the 4GTs, I think that it won't take Simon long to catch up with Toby Bushnell either.
And we say that it's we say off the pace, but we mean slower than the GT1 cars, which is obviously natural. but the GT2 cars will be slower. That's why they're called the GT2 cars in comparison to the GT1s. But it does look as though Oliver is still having a bit of a handful to come through the carousel onto the front stretch once again. This is what you're talking about. Down into turn number 1. Oliver needs to make sure he to the left as they go through here. Now, that's what we see he does. Gets a good drive now as they come down the straightaway, going in the keyhole. It looks as though he just managed to get through easily enough there. It looks like he had a lot of room given to him from Mark.
Okay, so Constantina effect started already. David S. Peterson and Nico Brandt have cut the lead by a couple of seconds. Of course, that kind of means nothing because David and Nico have both got to get through those GTs as well. So we're going to see a lot in the next couple of laps. It's going to be absolutely epic viewing.
And whilst Brandt has got the gap back down to 9/10 of a second, this will be not only how one car manages to get through this train, how, you know, more than one car has to try and side their way through. And for Peterson, it's going to be a lot easier because he'll be the first car that people see in their mirrors, and Nico's got to be very careful they don't try and cut back across before he has a chance to make a move.
I believe the cameras have switched to the four-car fight now of Farouk Manzar, Gary Hickman, Adam Kell and David Ward. The pink 69 David Ward at the back of that four-car train. They're close, but they're not close enough to have a proper little ding-dong. But as you can see, Gary and Adam are similar paint jobs. So absolutely they're on the same team. So we wouldn't see them two pushing each other that hard, I shouldn't imagine.
Meanwhile, Peterson having to use the curb a lot there as they go into turn 1 as he tries to start coming through this traffic. Manages to get past the TNT car of Jasper Groenweg as they come down into the keyhole. Nico Brandt having to go down the outside as well. He had to slide around a little bit, couldn't get the job done as easily. And it'll be interesting if we come to the more tight, twisty part of this racetrack, how Nico is going to be able to filter through as Peterson tries lapping these cars. And as you see, Nico almost running in the back of Peterson there, as Peterson had to get very, very early on the brakes to ensure he didn't, in turn, run into the rear of Simon Gamer as he comes up to lap him. Gamer, sorry.
Right, okay, so I'm pretty sure that bump drafting is not allowed in GT racing, which is probably a good... The Gamer gets it very, very loose there, coming through just in front of the carousel, turn number 11.
And this is what we were talking about. Nico Brandt has been held up quite a bit. Not deliberately, but just because of, you know, trying to find a line to get past Simon Gamer. And Nico is having to wait until turn 1 to make the move. And already Peterson is almost down at the keyhole, passing Toby Bushnell and almost getting Mark Bird by the look of it. But not quite getting Bird, but he'll see if he can line them up as they come out through the keyhole, down the long back straightaway. And don't forget, if you're watching this race live on Glacier TV, hello, I'm Will Vincent. That's Rob, who's next to me in the virtual world. If you look on your side panel, you can see there's two different pretty colours. The blue is the Corvette class and the orange is that of the 4 GTs. Make it a bit easier as you keep track of your favourite driver throughout this race. Thank you very much to not only Yoni but Yari back of house as well for bringing some of these incredible features to the TFR SuperCup.
Yeah, they're working very, very hard, and every week we have to go for a briefing because there's all these different additional options shoved in, which is makes our job easier. It makes your viewing job easier as well, which is a good. I think you're going to get Nico just run up behind one of the GT cars, or not actually. He's behind David. I'm looking at an older screen. I think David's getting held up. He's just behind Mark Bird, I think, in the first corner. Oh, I made another mistake. That's Dave Guyman, who is at the front of the Trilly train as well. So hopefully they'll get past Dave and then they'll go on a long old march and try and get some time back on Oliver Brandt because they are now 10 seconds down.
We talked about how the gap just cut down to 4.5 seconds. Gap's now up to 10.5 seconds. So it shows. I've heard about this before. How sometimes the lead car always seems to get that advantage as they start lapping cars, because you can tell it's a leader coming. It's the first big red flashing light you see. But then as the rest of the field start lapping, you remember that you've still got your own battle that you're doing, going through. And in the case of the Geimer-Bird, Bushnell-Geimer-Groeneweg battle, that kind of is what the issue. These cars are racing each other for position.
Yeah, it's what makes multi-class racing a really, really great spectacle to watch. I believe further back, 4th and 5th position, Gary and Farouk are still quite close, and Adam Kell and David Ward has just dropped back a little bit. Looking further back down the GT1 grid as well, Stephen Van Helsingen and Carl McGurk are also just under 400ths of a second apart from each other, all the way down in 9th position, so they'll be fighting for position quite soon.
Yeah, and we're a third distance now here at Lexington Mid-Ohio Sports Course, round number 4 of the spring TFR SuperCup, live on Glacier TV. Wolverton and Rob, I've forgotten your surname. Yep. Rob, I'm so sorry.
Oh, thanks, that's great. I feel amazed with that. Rob Sutherland, yes.
Rob Sutherland, that's the one. It's your fault, you changed your name in the booth. We are aware that there are a couple of issues with the stream. That is issues with Twitch TV. It's being resolved as quickly as possible. Don't forget also that after this broadcast, the second of the 2 iRacing Daytona 500s coming to you live on Glacier TV. Be a really good one. The first race was won by 2/1000ths of a second, Rob. Oh my god, and Nico Brad and Peterson wreck right there. And replay required. I believe that was going into the S's, I think.
Ooh, that's one of the talking points of the series so far. I think it looks like David got it a little bit twitchy going to corner number 9, and Nico collected, just couldn't avoid him, so just went down, dived down the inside to try and avoid, and they collected each other.
Yeah, sorry, that was coming onto Thunder Valley. It'll be interesting to see. Nico got a tap on the side and a tap on the rear as well. So I'm not sure how much damage Nico would have got from that.
I think we'll have to. We'll see. We'll know that in the next sort of couple of minutes. Looks like David's driving fairly straightly. Turn number 9 is just coming out of the S's. That's the corner just before Thunder Valley. There is a very, very close wall. So if you do mess up, you can get in a lot of trouble. But that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and it does look as though Nico's car is down pit lane getting towing, and David's car also looks as if it's very, very switchy at the moment. I'll be expecting him to try and cruise his car around to the point that he can make his pit stop, get out without losing too much time, but he looks as though he's a lot slower than he's been in his previous couple of laps. Yeah,
David Peterson's also a real aficionado of Corvettes as well, so if anyone knows how to drive a crooked Corvette, it will be David. I think we're watching Gary Hickman at the moment, all the way down in 4th position. Of course, he would have come out good with this. He would have hopped up a position as well. But he's got David Ward behind him, so they're just coming through the big old Trilly train of the 4 GTs now. In fact, Gary Hickman's in the pit.
Peterson didn't come into pit lane this time by. The gap is now up to 17.3 seconds between Oliver Brandt in the number 91 and Peterson in the 16. And Farouk Manzar inherits 3rd position, as you say, Hickman into pit lane. I don't believe he's had any issues with his pits so far.
I'm surprised by that. Yeah, that's an. We're near halfway, but that'll be the earliest. The first pit stop really, maybe for fuel, so maybe he's loading right up.
So he might have been one of these drivers trying to get track position earlier on in the race. He's now going to have to carry a full tank of fuel around, where some of the others, when they come into pit lane, are going to be able to take anywhere between about half and 2/3 of a tank.
But he's also in clean air as well, so he won't be stuck around slower cars. So that pit exit's very interesting Mid-Ohio. It's certainly, you've got the yellow strip that splits between the racing line and the main racetrack. But if you get a couple of cars that are fighting multi-class style into corner number 1, another car appearing out the pit lane could be a bit of fun.
Oh yeah, it's always a distraction when you have a car coming across pit lane, and there's, unlike Daytona on the road course, there's not a big wall separating them, so if a car loses it across pit lane, they're just going to shoot across the racetrack, and if there's another car coming into turn 1, that could be catastrophic. And also, you know, if you've got two cars coming out of the pit lane together, you've got to be very careful that you keep your composure until you get out there, blend in at the right point. You can't make the pass until you go past the end of the pit release line. And may I say also, that was the most pathetic cough I've ever heard in history, Rob.
What, from me?
Yes.
Oh, did I cough?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm coughing without even thinking. How about that? I know no end to my skill.
So the gap is now up to 19.3 seconds from Bryant to
China Ben, we got a little spin from Jasper, who came up alongside Dave Guymer, just behind the number 75 car of Simon Guymer as well. So he's got a little loose coming into China Bend, and he's hit the... I think we might be able to see a replay.
And away from our screens. Sorry.
Yeah, it was just at the corner of my eye. We're watching Simon Guymer.
And I was saying, out of the corner of our screen as well, Eric Virdorf has pitted in the GT2 class. Was catching that train of Bushnell, Guymer, Burning, and Groeneweg before he pitted. So he could be one of these other cars who tried to go on the low fuel strategy option, or it could have just been the fact he was, he's going to get stuck behind him. He could have been faster if he was running in clean air by himself more often, trying to do the good old crossover.
Yeah, there's well, you wouldn't think there's that many tactics in a race where you can fuel up pretty much for half of it, plus some, you know. So, but there is. I certainly like to fuel short on the first run, just in case I have a bit of an accident.
Oliver Bryan overtaking John Mallier to put him a lap down. Mallier almost runs into the back of Oliver as he manages to get on the power a little bit later.
That's completely slipped us by the fact that Kimmo is now ahead of John, so I apologise to viewers for...
And by slightly, quite a big margin as well. Kimmo is entering the keyhole, and Mallier's only halfway down the straightaways. He comes into it, so the gap's about 4 seconds now, and it'll be interesting. Oliver Brandt has now almost put a lap on the entire GT2 class, showing how good a car he's got underneath him. But there are still one or two cars who of the Corvettes who are behind some of these GT2 class. Though Krupp in the 99, he's been slightly off the pace all race long today.
I've noticed that, well no, actually Larry has, he's quite off the pace today. I've also noticed that Kimmo has a new paint job. He's still got the Aeon sponsors, but it's now a lovely purple colour as opposed to a lovely sky blue.
Maybe using some of that virtual winnings he's been having to repaint his car. Gap up to 24.4 seconds up front, by the way. And Farouk Manzar has managed to take second position from Peterson in the last lap or so. So the 46 bright orange and black car is up into second position, but still a way back from Oliver Brandt, who's been dominant in this race so far. We talked about David Ward closing up on Farouk. I'm not quite sure, but I think he's come down into pit lane.
Okay, we'll certainly have to take a quick look at that. Do you know what I've not noticed? I've not mentioned today at the moment. I've not mentioned the hashtag TFR SuperCup on Twitter.
So do you want me to tell everyone to tweet their thoughts, their opinions to hashtag TFR SuperCup, or were you going to do that? Because I think I've already done it now.
No, after you. I'm still I'm still amazed that it's taken me 40 plus minutes to say.
This is why we call ourselves the comedy duo, apparently. If you'd like to let us know what your thoughts are on the race so far, if you think anyone can catch Oliver Brandt, how you think the battle between Kimmo Zimmerman and John Malloy is going to unfold, or anything else, don't forget you can tweet us using the hashtag TFR SuperCup.
That's well. It looks like it's calming down on the circuit at the moment. We've got a fair few, obviously while everyone's throwing themselves into the pit lane, we've got a few, not many battles going on.
And I believe that David Peterson might have come down pit lane last. Yeah, David Peterson has come down pit lane at the end of lap 29. So he's made his pit stop. It'll be interesting to see whether he took the option to repair some of his damage. It didn't look like he did too much. But as I say that, he loses it again. Spins his race car. He's out of harm's way. Just be able to rejoin the racetrack. Oh, almost collecting a Corvette there. Another Corvette. I couldn't see who that was, just because they blinked a little bit, just as it all happened. But
yeah, no,
Mario,
I'm trying to look through as well.
Mario Vlasic, who we talked about having connection issues earlier, he had to take onto the grass to avoid Peterson. But it looks as though just as he did that, his connection dropped again. His connection might have got just as scared as he was.
Maybe David just didn't see him when he was rejoining the circuit. But that, we touched on this earlier, didn't we? When you come out the pits, the setup might be a little bit heavier and a little bit different. It'd be interesting to see if he did actually repair any of the damage. Certainly that may have been a reason why he didn't come into the pits, because he knew that his window was only a few minutes away, so he thought he might just hold on with a little bit of damage and then come in there.
Oh yeah, and to build upon what you just said, you know, the coming to pit lane, even if he got a little bit of that damage repair, he doesn't know exactly how that car is going to handle in comparison to what it was and what he has underneath it. Maybe he was expecting more grip than he actually had. It looks like he just overshot his braking zone by, you know, a couple of feet, but that put him right onto the grass. As soon as you get onto the grass here, you're going to be going sideways.
Yeah, we're. I think that is probably the first or second major sort of elevation change on that China Beach corner as well. So maybe it caught him by surprise.
Oliver Brandt up front, continuing his reckless pursuit through the field, putting a lap down on yet another car. I believe that is Philip Arth, currently riding in 10th in GT1, who's about to go a lap down. Oliver Brandt is really dominating at the moment. Gap up to 26.8 seconds to Farouk Manzar. Last time by,
his last 3 laps, 1 minute 18.8, 1 minute 19.5 and 1 minute 18.9. He's pushing.
And as we mentioned, Mario Vlasic's connection issues plaguing him even more as Oliver takes the inside line coming to turn 1. He's disconnected from the server and reconnected, so perhaps third time lucky for him now.
Yeah, we'll see if it's more eventful than the second time.
The battle for GT2 though, Kimo Suleiman, John Malia, the gap has kind of stabilised between the two of them. Kimo once again out front. He's been the story of this season so far. Kimo Suleiman, you know, dominating in some ways the GT2 class. I think the only major upset he had was back at Road America when he had his issue with Toby Bushnell coming under the Corvette bridge. But apart from that, he really has been the GT2 car to beat so far this season.
Yeah, Kimo and John have been absolutely on it. But Peter Kiermaier is also there as well. He's really high up in the championship, if I remember, the GT2 champ. Just have a little look. He's currently in 3rd place behind Eric Wiedhoff and Kimo with 42 points. And there's a big old gap between himself and Toby all the way in 4th.
Currently looking at the 77 of Jasper Groeneweg, the going car with him in this beautiful white and orange TNT machine. The TNT machine that we know, by the way, the postal company, not TNT, the US broadcasting channel.
Yeah, and certainly explosive colour combination as well.
And he really is trying to harass Geimer still. This battle, you know, got a little bit separated as Brandt, Manzar, McGurk, everyone tries to go past him, but it looks as though each time they have a couple of laps, they bring it back together, and Jasper's really putting a lot of pressure on Geimer as they come into this very tight carousel, making the left-hand flick down the front straightaway. Not going to be able to make a move as they come down to turn number 1 unless something magically wrong happened to Geimer.
Did my eyes deceive me, or did I see one of the Team Toyota guys, just as we come down Thunder Valley, let off and let a couple of those GT guys pass.
Yeah, he did. It's the 26th of Adam Kell, who's now going to have to go 2 wides going into the keyhole. It looks like he's going down the inside, and it looks as though the second of them, Gary Hickman, gets held up a little bit as they come down the straightaway.
It'll be interesting to see what went on there, what the thoughts behind that were. I thought for a second he was out of fuel. But then I seem to remember him coming into the pits quite early.
Perhaps just lost it a little bit. I don't know, perhaps lost it under acceleration? You can't lose it under acceleration once you're in a straight line, surely.
Well, I can. There's certainly a lot of torque in his Corvette. Seen some great pictures here of just coming through the turn number 9.
But it looks as though that the two pseudo racing cars are still pretty much working together. You haven't seen, as you see, they managed to get a little bit of a respite, as I believe that was Dave Guyman who's come down pit lane in the number 23 car. Get a little bit of respite, don't have to, you know, dive down the inside of turn 1 as they come down to complete lap 34.
Yeah, so that's the second Team Shark car in the pits. That's going to be a massive point boost for these guys if they both finish the race. Both the Guymers from simracing.org.uk.
And we talked about the gap up front. The gap is now up to 34 seconds. Oliver Brandt and Farouk Manzar. And you know what, this could be the case that if Oliver gets any further ahead, he can come in, make his pit stop, have a cup of tea, come back out and still be in front.
Yeah, but the TFR SuperCup certainly has a history of throwing up some surprises towards the end, so I think it's not dead and buried.
Especially at a track like this, you know, where one little wheel on the white line in the wrong place spins you around in a heartbeat, and in some of these corners you get hit the white line, you know, you go off track, the next thing you're going to be seeing is a big wall coming up to say hello to you.
Yes, it's an insane circuit.
I'll tell you what, mate, it's scary of just looking at Adam Kell. Just scary how close they get to the wall as they come through down towards the carousel. That right-hand kink, they go so close to the wall in the rumble strips.
Christian Nuslini, sorry if I said that name incorrectly, is now in the pit. He's dropped back from, I think it was 3rd or 2nd place. Oh no, he was in 4th place.
And sorry, 46 Farouk Manzar is in pit lane. In the 46, he will drop back and pass on 2nd position to Carl McGurk in the 58.
I wonder when Oliver's going to come in.
Well, he's been historically able to stay out a lot later than some of these other cars. I mean, I remember the last couple of races, he's been a good 2, 3, 4 laps longer than his nearest place competitor. Now, we know Peterson probably pitted early so he, as soon as he got into the window because of his damaged car. But I'm not quite sure how long he has left. I'd say 4 laps maybe.
Yeah, although interestingly, his fastest lap was on the 2nd race lap, 1 minute 18.1.
Wow.
Absolutely, what a drive from Oliver Brandt.
Gets a little bit twitchy there as we're watching him now. He's still pushing it though. It's not as if he's, you know, cutting back and because you can't really cruise around on these cars. You get to a point where the revs drop too low in a couple of gears and you try and put the floor it, and the car's probably even worse to drive than if you're driving it flat out.
Yeah, he just completed another lap, so he's not in this lap. He's miles apart, miles away from everyone else. I think, is everyone else pitted, or are we still waiting for Carl to come in the pit?
Carl hasn't pitted yet.
Let's have a look when Adam McKell came in the pit.
And obviously, because Carl's so far back, he's not even classed the start-finish line, so we can't tell you whether he's coming into this lap or not. Keeping an eye on him as well in the purple TFR machine. But it doesn't look as though he'd be coming in this lap either. He misses pit entry. So sorry, to run to you through your top 5, I know it will change a lot as this pit sequence continues. But Oliver Brandt is leading, gap 43.7 seconds to Carl McGurk in second. Neither of these two drivers have pitted as of yet. Gary Hickman is in third, 1 minute 4 behind. He has pitted, I believe, with Adam Kell as well. In fourth, Farouk Manzar definitely pitted. He is in fifth. Peterson is sixth. We talked about him having some issues earlier. He ran into a little bit of troubles with Nico Brandt. David Warden seventh. He had his issue on lap 2. Philip Arth is in 8th. Stephen Van Helsdingen is in 9th. And Christian Nielsen in 10th of the GT1 cars.
And a bit of news. It's a bit further back. David Ward and Peterson in corners number 1 and the keyhole was side by side, swapping positions. David Ward has come out in the lead. I wonder if we can get our camera on.
Great move there by Ward on the outside there. Just, it's so difficult when you go offline, you know, the grip's not always there as much. You've got to be very careful. You're a lot closer to the white line on the outside. You don't want to push the issue too hard, especially once you get on the power as well. You know, you can get on the power earlier, but talking to these cars, you know, the car likes to twitch a little bit left or right depending on which corner you're coming through as you put the power down. He did a good job there of taking what will be effectively 7th position on the race, 6th position on the racetrack.
We're seeing David Peterson have a difficult middle section of the race, I think. And it's about to get a little bit more difficult because he's got the TNT car in front of him, which is, of course, Jasper, who's had a bit of trouble this race. He's had a couple of offs and he's been pushing quite hard to get back on the pace.
Just a heads up, Gary Hickman has, I believe, Path and Kell for 3rd position. Keeping an eye still on Carl McGurk to see whether he's going to come down pit lane this time by. 43 seconds is the gap, and when you put that into context, because these laps are only 1 minute 20-ish long, then it just shows how much of a gap Oliver's already pulled out, as he doesn't come through this time either. It looks as though he was going to consider it, but didn't at the last moment. Could have been because there was a 4 GT car that came down pit lane as well. Might not have wanted to follow him into pit lane. But Carl McGurk still running 2nd, but that's a huge gap Oliver Brandt has in the number 91 car.
To show you the aggressiveness of Oliver, I can't speak on it, of Oliver's tactics, he's now he's not too far away from David Peterson.
To put him a lap down.
Absolutely, that's unbelievable. What?
And we talked about the Corvette cars, the GT1s. It would be horrible if we didn't talk about the GT2. So, Timo Suleiman is leading up the GT2 class. Toby Bushnell in 2nd, John Mallier 3rd, Jasper Groeneweg in 4th, Peter Kiemeyer in 5th, Simon Geimer in 6th, Eric Eldorf 7th, David Geimer 8th, Mark Bird 9th, and then Mario Vlasic, we've talked about, he's running 10th. He's 6 laps down, however, due to his connection issues. Again, this will still change a little bit as a number of cars are still to complete their pit sequences. Sorry, as Timo Suleiman, as I say that, is down into pit lane, so he'll potentially relinquish the lead for the moment. Comes into his pit box, absolutely no issue of him getting in at all. He's taking 4 tyres and topping up with virtual race gas.
How long is Oliver going? This is probably the longest stint without pitting in TFR SuperCup history.
We're 55 minutes in.
I say that with no basis in that accusation at all.
Well, because this lap's so short and because you're on the power for a lot less than you are at some of these other tracks, it is a lot longer, this fuel window, and it opens up so many more strategy options. Now, if Oliver knew he had a chance of getting to the lead early, as he stays out again, sorry, Toby Bushnell, by the way, as I say that, is down pit lane as well. Because, you know, you're not on the power as much, there's some very slow, tricky bits where you don't use as much fuel, you can stretch that fuel window if you want to, and it comes back down to driver style as well. I believe that Oliver's so smooth getting on and off the power that it doesn't use as much of this, as much fuel as some of the other drivers does. And I've got a feeling that in some ways comes into how he's been able to save a lap here, a couple of laps there, over these runs in comparison to other drivers.
Some proper little insight there. So Toby's in the pits. He's dropped back down to third position now in GT2. I believe we're watching 51 Kara Kimmo.
Carmen Gerk stays out as well, by the way.
Just catching the train of Team Studio Racing, the lovely purple and white Corvette.
Carmen Gerk just coming, managing to catch and pass the number 77 of Jasper Groeneweg as he comes out of pit lane. That might have been a little bit of a relief for him there. He wouldn't want to have caught Jasper as was, if he was a second or two behind, he wouldn't have wanted to caught him as Jasper was coming into the keyhole for the first time on, you know, fresh fuel and cold tyres.
Yeah, you have to get be very careful. Even the pit entry in Mid Ohio is a bit of a hard one. It's a nice little gradient change there as well. So there's really no let up on this circuit.
Oh no, definitely. And you know, these drivers are racing for an hour and a half non-stop, and the only break they get is coming into pit lane. And as you come down, you know, you see that pit entry line, you see the cones, you're thinking, finally, I can chill out for just a moment. The last thing you want to do is lose it into pit lane, and thankfully, so far, these guys have all been really good on pit entry and exit. Okay, so just the leaders, Oliver Carl still haven't come in the pit lane in third position, Gary Hickman fourth, Adam Kelf, Farouk Manzar sixth is David Ward, and seventh place is David Peterson. Currently the first 6 drivers are all on the lead lap. Although I believe Oliver will be catching David if he hasn't already. Currently the retirements are. I don't know if Mario's still running. I have to take a look out and see if he's still. But Mario is running
all the way down. So we've got 22 runners. The retirements are Nico Brandt, who had a bit of a contact with David S. Peterson, Tero Dahlberg, who had a bit of an eventful start of the race, Rob Stratermans is also retired, David Jordan too have retired, Kieran Pace, who was up in second when he had connection troubles, and Chris Partridge, who would fair to say he's been struggling this weekend.
Stabilised, may I say, between Oliver Brandt and Carl McGurk at about 45 seconds. I don't know what it is, but it seems for the last couple of laps, Carl looks like he's picked up his pace a little bit. The gap hasn't been pulling out as much as we've seen early on in this race, and it's something that's just caught my eye a little bit, as third and fourth, Hickman and Kell are still within a second of each other, but these two are teammates, you know, they're not going to really want to race each other too hard until we get to the latter part of this race. And go ahead.
I think he managed to set the fastest lap with a 1 minute 20.402.
That is crazy fast. Especially for 4GT. We've been talking about how much slower the 4GTs are. I'm going to put this into perspective for you. So Oliver Brandt's fastest lap time was 1:18.1. So that's, you know, 2 seconds. That's it. That's amazingly quick. Kimo's driving this race car at the moment.
Well, in practice and quali, John Mallier and Kimo were both 1 minute 19.9s as well. So that's in quali setup.
But we've seen Kimo's coming down pit lane, so he's running full fuel at the moment.
Yeah,
so that's even crazier.
There's talent behind the wheel there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, definitely. And meanwhile, I believe that Oliver has the fastest lap of the race in the GT1 cars. Just having a look now. Oh no, sorry, Kieran Pierce still has the fastest lap time, 1:18.85. 1:18.135. No, sorry, Oliver Brandt was 5/1000 faster. So Oliver Brandt is the fastest guy of the GT1 cars. So just under 2 seconds. That is, I mean, I know the track's shorter here, a lot shorter than at some other tracks, but with the huge twists and turns, that's where the GT normally gains a lot of its time.
Yeah, we're looking at the, I would say battle for third position, but I don't know if there's a lot of battling going to go on there, to be honest. I think they're just formation flying.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be a simple case of Kell will be saying to Hickman, you know, if you go off, I'm going to be taking a position. If you go stupidly wide, I'm going to take the position. Apart from that, carry on.
Yeah, they should really rebadge those Corvettes for the Prancing Horse, shouldn't they?
Yeah. That wasn't a dig at Ferrari at all, honest.
You just saw them going
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I believe Carl just ever so gently caught the wall, almost. Yeah, he did, sorry. I've been talking about that, you know, just that that kink just before they come into the carousel. Just watching him, and I see a couple of sparks later. He grazed the wall ever so slightly there. Just before they came into the carousel.
Who was that? Sorry, I missed that.
So that was the 58 of Carl McGurk. I was talking about just that right-hand kink before they line up for the left going into the carousel. There's just those barriers on the right-hand side, those steel barriers, and he just grazed him ever so slightly to the right-hand side of his race car. Not, you know, significant damage to his car, but that would have been a fright. And if he was a couple more inches to the right, you know, that could have been serious.
Yeah, we'll see how that pays off for him. We spoke to I think was it Cole last week or was it David last week after the race. And David Peterson was saying how much quicker Carl's got. He spent a lot of time behind the wheel. He's done a lot of setup work, and it's really paid off for him. He's in second place at the moment, and he's absolutely flying.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's been a joy to watch a number of these drivers throughout this series so far. Keeping an eye still, and it looks as though... Oh, sorry, Carl McGurk is coming down pit lane this time by.
Oh!
And catch grass on entry. He should just get away with that. I don't think he'll get an unsafe pit entry. I'll have to go back and have a look to see whether he did get inside the cones in time. Yes, he did.
I think what we said has paid off there. That pit entry's absolute nightmare.
So apart from that, the rest of the stop doesn't look too bad. Just waiting. A little bit of a stutter as he comes out of pit lane. Apart from that, still fine. 45 mile an hour is the pit speed limit. And this is what we're talking about. He's going to merge. Keep it inside that line until he gets past turn 1. And away he goes. And I believe that he has lost a position to Oliver... I'm sorry. I think actually... Oh, sorry. Oliver Bryant has come to lap Carl McGurk in that pit sequence. That must be so heartbreaking.
Well, I saw David S. Peterson follow Carl quite a few seconds down the road. I haven't seen the two of Gary and Adam Kell coming. I think I saw them in the long shot, just in the carousel. I'm just looking at the exit pit view as well. Oh, Oliver's still out there. That's great.
So once again, Oliver Bryant just outstays the entire field. I really would expect him to come down in the next couple of laps or so, though. We've run over an hour here at Mid-Ohio. For those of you who have just joined us, hello, welcome to round 4 of the TFR SuperCup here at Lexington Mid-Ohio Sports Course. I'm Wilson. Rob Sutherland is commentating alongside me today as Oliver Bryant comes down into pit lane at the end of lap number 48. He doesn't make the same mistake as Carl, keeps it nicely into pit lane. He doesn't need to rush, he's got such a huge gap.
So I wonder if he's actually going to be able to get out his car and have a cup of tea, as you said.
Perfectly into his pit stop there.
So with Oliver pitting in the lead, I believe there's only one other car. That's the number 22 of Philip Arf, who's
coming down pit lane now, right?
Ah, your eyes are better than mine. The little white Corvette of Philip's just coming to pit.
Meanwhile, Oliver Bryant out of pit lane, no issues at all as he comes down into the keyhole to see he doesn't have any issues here on cold tyres. Nothing at all. Calm, smooth, steady, just like it's been all race long for Oliver Bryant. So to run through your order now, this pit sequence has completed. I'm just checking to make sure that Hickman did come in. Did Hickman come in earlier? I don't think he has.
Yeah, no, he was...
No, he has. He has, yeah, he came down on lap 26. He came down early. So your running order is Oliver Brandt in the number 91 machine is your race leader. Gary Hickman, 1 minute and 3 seconds behind. And the number 27 Cedo racing car. The 26 of Adam Kell is about 1.5 seconds behind. 4th, Farouk Manzar is a further 7 seconds down the road. Carl McGurk, after his pit stop in the number 58, is down into 5th in the purple TFR machine. David Ward in the 69 is in 6th, and David Peterson is now running in 7th position. He's dropped back from David Ward now ever since Ward's passed him. He is 1 minute 24 seconds behind the leader, and that's not where he wants to be as he started this race so strong.
I believe now on television we're watching a battle between the Eric Vidoff and Simon Geimer as well. Now Eric at the moment is, as it plans, sits second place behind Kimmo in the champion. So he needs all the points he can get to stay in the fight.
We've not talked about it much this season, but he's just been patient there as he tries to dive bomb down the inside. The two touch, they're going to spin it. Eric just manages to keep it going. Having to slow down, see if any other car gets past, to get back onto the racetrack. But that was, I'm sorry, there's nothing else to call that apart from, you know, outbraking yourself. I don't think that was a dive bomb specifically. Yeah. Just completely lost the braking as he went into the corner. I think he noticed, dived down the inside, know he wasn't going to make it, was just hoping perhaps that Simon Geimer was going to stay a little bit further on the outside, and they could have just got away with that. Synchronised winning.
That certainly wasn't polite, was it? That certainly wasn't patient. We've just seen them come up side by side. I think Eric let Simon back on the racetrack, and after the keyhole, just to follow him and just say, look, I'm not going to take the place off you. Simon has just pulled up in the S's on the outside. I don't know if he's going to retire from the race now, but he certainly did get quite close to Eric then, so I don't know if Simon's particularly happy about that.
Simon's car, I was just looking back at the replay, just wouldn't turn as I went into the S's. The car was wiggling all the way down the straightaway, and literally, as Simon tried to turn into the S's, he had no grip really at all. So his handling really must be shot to pieces.
Yeah, the Talk Free Racing do have a complaints procedure as well, so I believe that might go to the stewards after the race.
Yeah, you see, I'm not convinced that was overly a dive bomb. I think he just got so late on the brakes, he realised that if he'd stayed on the outside, he would have rammed into him from the rear. So he tried to necessarily go down the inside, but once he went down the inside, he realised that he wasn't going to make the corner. But if you're a driver, what can you really do in one of these situations? If you lose a brake and there's a car that close to you on the head, and you can't necessarily go high, you can't necessarily go low. I'm guessing it's just a case of damage limitation.
Well, yes, it's certainly difficult, isn't it? It's yeah, well, it's unfortunate. I don't really want to comment on how much it was lost. It was an unfortunate sort of racing incident.
It was, yeah. We'll ask our resident 4GT driver Yoni for his thoughts. I'm sure he'll be typing away feverishly his opinions. But Simon Geimer is down pit lane. He's got 4 tyres, so it looks as though he might still be able to get himself back into this race. But obviously he's lost himself a number of positions. Eric, in the meantime, also down pit lane now, so he's realised his race car is in tatters. Just having a look, I think Eric, however, is going to be disconnecting. He's out.
Oh, that's a shame. That's going to really damage his championship.
Out front, however, the gap is down to 40 seconds. Oliver Brandt to Gary Hickman. I'll need to go back and have a look to see what happened. That could have been in all of the joys that we were talking about. Oliver Brandt had a very, I don't know, not much special. That must have just been the pit sequence. The gap's down to 40 seconds, thereabouts. Oliver Brandt to Gary Hickman. And I think now that Oliver, if he knows what the word cruise control is, will probably be going into cruise control, his version of it anyway.
Okay, so we're looking at the last sort of 20 minutes of the race. I think we've got two battles between the second and third position, which may be a battle, may not be a battle, and fifth position between Carl McGurk and the pink 69 car, David Walk. That's in the GT1 race.
Just to mention also to everyone who is watching in eager anticipation for the upcoming Daytona 500, just to let you know that the race will be shown on Channel 2. So everyone who is preparing to watch Daytona 500, when the race happens, please switch over to Channel 2. That would be very much appreciated. Thank you very much. In the meantime, this is the TFR SuperCup Round 4 at Lexington, Mid-Ohio, the Mid-Ohio Sports Course. Will Vinson alongside Rob Sutherland. We are currently 1 hour and 10 minutes into the race. Oliver Brandt is still your leader in the number 91 car. He has led pretty much every lap so far from the drop of this green flag. Gary Hickman riding in second, his teammate Adam Kell in third, however 40 seconds behind the race leader. Brooke Manzar in fourth, Carl McGurk in fifth, and in the GT2 class, as always, Kimo Suerman is leading the charge. John Malley in second, Peter Kaimayo in third, Toby Bushnell fourth, and Jasper Groeneweg in fifth.
And a bit of information for you as well. We are on Twitter under hashtag TFR SuperCup. If you want to, if any viewers want to give any thoughts. Oh, sorry, I need to interrupt you. Oliver Brandt almost lost it there. Almost lost it, Oliver Brandt. Carry on. I don't think that was on. That was on the TV camera. That one. So.
I will just try and figure out where that is on the racetrack. I'm not as a favourite. I believe left-hander. I believe that was just as we were coming down into the S's. He just twitched the car a little bit. The car put the power down, went up over the hill, put the power down. The car just wanted to turn left, almost touched the grass a little bit, almost speared towards that right-hand side wall.
He certainly doesn't want to throw it away this late in the race as well, so, especially with such a healthy... That's a full 39.7 seconds. Actually, we'll see if it closed up a little bit after that. Just we'll know that when Gary Hickman comes across the line.
I'll tell you what though, he had a moment.
7 second.
He had a moment. Still a 1 minute 19.556.
Unbelievable. Has he shown any weakness in the race so far before that?
I don't know. I honestly haven't seen him have any issues at all, and that's probably the closest I've seen him get to.
We did. The first Ford GT call.
Oh yeah, sorry.
He had a bit of a... He snuck his nose out and decided not to and ran a little bit wide. Apart from that, and the incident we just seen, it's been a pretty faultless race.
So that gives you something to talk about on Twitter, if you'd like to carry on that a little bit, Rob.
Yeah, no, on the hashtag TFR SuperCup on there's a couple of viewers chatting away. And also, obviously, we've been having some issues with Twitch TV today, so they've been talking about.
Don't forget that you will be able to download the race after. Probably tomorrow. I know Yoni and Yano and all the Glacier TV gang have got a very long night ahead of them. But you will be able to download the entire race and continue to laugh at our lovely commentary whilst looking in amazement at the beautiful high-quality stream. That will be available in the next couple of days. Probably tomorrow afternoon. Yoni says that will be up. So a big thank you again to Yoni for the commitment he's shown to broadcasting, as well as all the Glacier TV guys. The TFR SuperCup, which is turning out really this race to be an exhibition provided by Oliver Brandt.
Yep. I can certainly say this is one of the real premier GT championships out there. From my opinion, anyway, you see some great races. Also, I believe the Twitch TV may be doing a restream immediately after the race is done, I believe. I think that functionality exists. Certainly the details will be on the TalkFreakRacing.com website, I believe. As well as some snazzy little interviews on it.
Woohoo! We always love interviews. Second place, by the way, Hickman and Kell are still within about a second of each other. Now, I talked to you earlier on about how Hickman and Cal will probably be saying, look, let's just cruise around, see what's going to happen. Do you think coming to the last lap it'd be a case of, all right, game on, show me what you got?
I hope so. I hope they go tooth and nail.
It's always interesting. I try to find stuff to talk about. I think this battle could continue to develop. David Ward, by the way, is catching Carl McGurk. The gap's down to about 1.4 seconds. It looks as though David Ward is on a charge as we enter yet again the concluding stage of this race. It does look as though David Ward looks at the time and thinks, oh God, I've got to start driving really quickly. And it's been, you know, we saw this at Road America, we saw it at Suzuka. So it'll be interesting to see, yeah. Meanwhile, go on.
No, I always err on the side of caution. Just bring the car up.
Bring the car home. As we are looking inside David Ward's car right now, and you can just see once you're in one of these onboard, it's always a bit difficult to get a sense of gradient when you're, you know, looking from a TV camera. But once you're inside, you can just see how this track, you know, it's got so many bumps. It moves up, it moves down, some of the corners are off camber. It really does show how treacherous this track is. You know, having to know your braking points, how you can turn in, know where your grip is before you go up a hill, down a hill, or go through some of these very sweeping bends.
So you're just driving through the S's now, isn't he? Following the Talk Fit racing car of Carl, number 58.
And it is that time of the day when I need to remind everyone once again that you can see a little timer on your right hand side of the bottom of the screen. Due to iRacing Telemetry, that is about 4 minutes and 45 seconds out by my watch, and so long as my watch remains beautifully accurate, that should be the difference. So once we get towards the end of the race, the time will stop. We will let you know when the white flag is out on the racetrack. And I think for some of these drivers as well, David Ward especially, as he's continuing to catch Carl McGurk, he wants to be able to make sure that he can time his charge perfectly so that, you know, he doesn't want to run out of time after he's managed to close this gap.
I believe we've seen David lap a GT car of Larry Krupp, haven't we? He's all the way down in 15th position.
Correct.
And lapping in his fastest lap of the race is a 1:20.5, which I believe is just the one after his pit stop. That's lap number 43 for that. Other than that, it's fair to say he's had quite a hard race.
And the battle for fifth is still going on, running through your top 5 in each class, as we've got, sorry, car off track there. I'm trying to see who that was. That is Ian Rogers. He's had a tough old day today. He's 3 laps down on number 19. It looks as though he's got some engine trouble, sorry. He might have just blown an engine up there. We'll have to go back to see what happened there. He's definitely got engine trouble. He's slowing to a stop. Going down the straightaway, no issues at all. I've got a feeling he blew the engine out in the braking as he come down the long backstretch.
He did do under braking, just tap it down one gear too many, and there you go, big bang under the bonnet, and you've got to roll to a stop, which is what he's done. He's in 19th at the moment, instead of all the way down to 19th.
And these cars aren't like, you know, the IndyCar, the Formula 1 car, the HPD. You know, you've not got the comfort of just being able to bang down that left gear paddle to get down the gears from 1 to 2. You need to change down individually and be aware of the revs as you go down the gearbox. But meanwhile, as I was saying, we're running through the order. At the top of the charts, as has been the case all race long. I really don't think Oliver's not led a lap this race, but Oliver Brandt is your leader of the GT1 class in the number 91 Vitaphone machine. He's gapped down again to under 40 seconds to Gary Hickman, riding in second, number 27. Adam Kell is in third in the number 26 machine. Fruit Manzar is in fourth, Carl McGurk is in fifth, because of the fact he's right behind him. David Ward is in sixth, and David S. Peterson is in seventh. And in the 4GT, Kim O'Sullivan is again dominating in the GT2 class. John Mallia is dropped back really, really big distance now. I'd say that gap's about 20 seconds to Zimmerman. He's running second in the 4GT class. Peter Keimeyer is running third. Toby Bushnell fourth, and Jasper Groenweg is fifth. Dave Geimer, Mark Bird, and Simon Geimer round out your runners in the GT2. As once again, Mario Vlasic, who is in ninth, has disconnected and have to reconnect.
Well, he must be purely just testing now, because he must be having some real net problems. We saw Simon Geimer, well, we didn't see actually, in the background. Simon Geimer did go long into the carousel and...
oh, sorry, I had to interrupt you there. Oliver Brandt almost had a big moment with Philip Arth as he came up to lap him, going down into the keyhole. Philip Arth gets off the racing line to let Oliver Brandt go past. Oliver makes a turn, no issues there, and it seems as though Philip outbraked himself and almost chopped across against him. The slightest of contact between those two there.
This is beginning to get a bit risky for Oliver, isn't it?
Yeah, he just wants to bring the car home in one piece, I think, now. As meanwhile, Kell has fallen back to about 4 seconds behind Hickman. So that last lap battle we're talking about looks as though it might not happen.
We've seen Oliver come up to lap Kimo as well now.
He should be able to clear him pretty much easily coming out of the keyhole, I think it'll be. Out of the keyhole, be able to make the move. Not going to be able to do it into
just
it.
Line him up.
4 cars back. 4 car lengths back, closing all the way through the keyhole. Should just be able to put the power down a little bit earlier, close that gap, close it down. It's down to 2 car lengths now. Move to the inside. Kimo going to give him the outside lane. No point in the lead of the GT1 and the GT2s getting together. No point in anything there at all. Oliver clips the curbs, he comes down. Job done.
That, kids, was multi-class racing etiquette. Lovely job. Oh, number 69 of David Ward, I believe, has been off track.
Lost himself a couple of seconds there as well.
Yeah, look, I don't know if we'll get replay of it, but corner number 9, he missed the wall, got the rear left on the grass, and just the back end kicked out. He looks like he got back on safe.
Yeah, just caught it in the gravel. It takes a while to straighten these cars up once they got going sideways, but that gives Carl McGurk back 5th position, so the pressure's off him now. So it does look as though we're entering the closing stage of this race. It could in some ways be a little bit subdued, because Adam Kell's fallen back behind Hickman. That gap's back down just under 3 seconds, but I doubt Kell's going to really be able to mount the charge in the little time we have left. Ward is 7 seconds behind Carl McGurk. That's about for 5th. And Peterson, we know he's had his issues all day, so once Ward gets back up to speed, I've got a feeling that Peterson's not going to have any opportunity to charge down for 6th.
Just going to see how much this damages David Peterson's championship.
But still, Peterson still managed to get to 7th place, and you know it could have been a worse claim. Nico Brandt, for example, he's currently classified 23rd overall, 13th in class. And we've seen a couple of other guys. Ian Rogers, for example, he's blown his engine. He'll finish 12th. For Peterson still to be running after that contact does show that he's been able to have the determination to try and keep the race car going, pointing in a straight direction.
Yeah, he's currently in the championship. 5 points behind David Peterson is Oliver Brandt, and David Ward is 9 points behind David Peterson as well. So there's certainly going to be a lot of changing at the top.
Peterson just pulls out of the way to let Oliver Brandt through. He's going to be catching Mario Vlasic as they come down. He moves to the outside as they come down towards the keyhole. And it looks as though for once Mario's connection doesn't get all scared and decides to drop.
Yeah, we saw that with David Peterson earlier. Just as David rejoined the circuit earlier, Mario came around and had a little blink in front of him, which caused a bit of an awkward moment as we see David just slapping Mario again now.
So, just to remind you one more time, the time that you see on your screen will be any minute now, turning itself off. We've still got about 4 minutes left of this race. 5 minutes of this race left to run. So, we're keeping an eye out for you to let you know exactly when the leader starts his white flag lap. It'll be interesting to see whether David Ward's going to see if he can try and close down before that. I don't think he is, because that gap stabilised. Yeah, it's increased. 1 minute to David Ward's just decided to let this race, cruise around for the last couple of laps. Carl McGurk is 3 seconds behind. Sorry, Mayo Vlasic getting a little bit loose there. I don't think Carl's going to be able to catch Farouk for fourth either, so we'll still let you know how things are going in the GT2 cars. Any interesting battles going on at the moment, Rob?
Not that I can see. We'll see. I wonder how close Dave Geimer and Mark Bird are. Another point in the GT1 battle as well. I wonder if David Peterson thought he'll be finishing the closing races of the Mid-Ohio week number 4, following in Oliver Brandt being a lap down.
No, I don't think it would have been.
That's a big turn up for the books.
Oh yeah, and it does show how immediately these races can change. Well, let's not forget Kieran Pearce led the field to the green flag, and he was one of the first cars out of the race. I mean, admit it was with connection issues, but it does show how quickly the complexion of these races can change. Mark Bird is very close to David Geimer. I saw Bird having a huge sideways moment coming into the S's earlier on. Somehow manages to keep it together. As the Constantino effect is playing havoc with my emotions here, because it does look as though Bird is right on the tail, but then all of a sudden it does look as though it springs out a little bit.
As we see Oliver Brandt come across the line again, this we're going to be quite close to the flag being displayed. We've not seen a huge amount of on track fighting, have we, really? Certainly not the side by side through the S's or anything like that.
But that, in so many ways, is because of how narrow this track is. You don't really want to be going too wide a large portion of this racetrack, and the word free wide at this track will be horrible.
Yeah, but great.
And we know Yoni wants to quickly come up and explain the Constantino effect to everyone. So Yoni, explain not only the Constantino effect, but how that plays havoc if you're the driver behind trying to close down the car in front.
Well, at the corner complex where you just started mentioning that the gap seems to just close up, it's right on his tail, and 3 corners later the gap just stretches out to like 0.5 of a second. That's not exactly a miracle on this track, as we see Mark Bird going very sideways there, by the way. Like I was saying, through corners 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, as I had last year, I had the best battle of my life with the 4 GTs around this track with John Malia. Rocco Baroni it was. We had 3 cars within half a second, the whole 45 minutes, and I can tell you that going through the 5, 6, 7, 8 corners right in someone's tail really requires you to have good knowledge of this track and just be comfortable around the corner, because especially 8 and 9, just catching the timing up to perfection, going over the curbs and the insides, really makes the big difference, because all you have to do is when you're that close to a Ford GT in front of you, it's simply you simply cannot see the curb, so you really have to have a good feel of the track and know your timing, when to turn in, when to lift, so you're not going to get into trouble. And it looks as though Mark Bird is not that comfortable around this track. Just throwing my 2 cents in the table.
2 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. Story of the day literally has been Oliver Brandt. Yes, Kieran Pearce did start from the pole, but by the end of lap 1, Oliver Brandt was into the lead of the race. Gary Hickman still running second, Adam Kell in third, Farouk Manzar fourth, and Carl McGurk is in fifth. Some of the big stories of the day has to be slightest amounts of contact causing havoc to some of these race cars. David Ward had a moment lap 2 of the race. that didn't hit his chances for the race. David Peterson had a moment as well, contact with another car. That's put him into 7th position where he is now. We've seen it as well with the GT2 cars throughout the field. It's really been a tough race for some of these guys. Still looking at Oliver Brandt though, you know, perfect job.
Yeah, real good showing from Oliver. He's been a class in the field today. We had a potentially a 5-way for the lead with regards to pace, but it's a shame that Kieran dropped out early doors, and also Nico had that incident with Dave. I believe we are now on the last lap.
We are on the last lap. You got me by half a second there. So Oliver Brandt only has about 8 corners left to go to bring the car around this tough racetrack. And I tell you what, there's some races where, you know, you can be fresh and breezy to get out the racetrack, others not. And for Nico Brandt, as he comes across the final corner, great race. Oliver Brandt takes the checkered flag here at Mid-Ohio, and now we've got to wait the 40-odd seconds for Gary Hickman.
That's a long way back. 44 seconds, and then join up. I wonder if they're going to do a side-by-side on the line with Gary and Adam.
Meanwhile, Kimmo Suherman will come and take the G2 victory once again. 2 in a row for Kimmo there. Great result for him, and that is going to be amazing for his championship hunt. You know, he dominated a large portion of Suzuka. He's dominated here yet again. Had some great battles with John Malliot on the way, as Malliot is going to come home and take 2nd position in the GT2 class. He's just about to come across the line now, but great job for him. Meanwhile, Hickman 2nd in the GT2s. You're talking about this, they're side by side, saying hello to each other in their virtual cockpits. Farouk Manzar finishes 4th. Karl McGurk 5th. David Ward, we're looking in the number 69 heavily damaged race car, manages to bring the car home in 6th position. David S. Peterson in 7th. Stephen Van Helsing in 8th of the GT1s. Christian Nielsen in 9th.
And in the GT2s, Kimmo Suherman in 1st, John Mallow 2nd, Peter Kemmer in 3rd, 4th is Toby Bushnell, 5th Jasper Granweg, 6th Dave Geimer, 1st Team Shark, 7th David Bird, and 8th Simon Geimer, and in 9th the Mario Vlasic with all the connection problems. Did not finish was Eric Veldorf in 10th, 11th David Jordan, and bringing up the rear Chris Partridge as well.
I don't know whether or not it was frustration or just playing about, but David decided to blow his engine on the cool-down lap and smash it into the wall.
Oh, you know, I'm sure the virtual pit crews love him for that.
I feel so much like the BBC Formula 1, the ITV Formula 1 team of James Allen every time I say this. But who's your driver of the day?
Oh, aha, easily. This one's easy. Oliver Brandt, class apart.
You see, you're going to say Oliver. I'm going to say what I said the last race and go with Kimmo Suherman. Because, yes, whilst Oliver Brandt has been the class of the field, let's not forget, Kimmo managed to do it that 1 minute 20 on full fuel, just 2 seconds a lap slower at some points than Oliver Brandt. You know, for a GT2 car to be that fast, that on edge, for such a long portion of the race. I mean, I'm just going to have a look through Kimmo's lap times now, and they take my breath away looking at them. You know, 121s, 122s, 121s, and 1 minute 20.4 was his fastest lap. Breathtaking.
I'll fight back and say Oliver Brandt's fastest lap was still his 2nd lap, 1 minute 18.1.
And Oliver Brandt is in the booth. Oliver, congratulations on your race win. Dominated from the very start. Last guy to pit as well, so that threw away our presumptions that you might have been on low fuel. Take us through your race.
Well, thanks very much, first of all. And I got starting with qualifying. I felt confident that I had pole with my 17.3. Out of the blue comes Kieran Peace and schools me how fast you can take Corvette round, and I was beginning to get a little worried because I know if you let that guy go, you're not going to catch him again. So I was dead set on getting the lead early on so he wouldn't get away. Took it in turn 1 basically. He didn't fight me too much for it, and never looked back.
And how important, psychologically, not only psychologically, but strategy-wise, was getting that lead from the drop of the green flag?
Well, looking at it now, it didn't really matter since Kieran sadly disconnected, but it meant everything really. Because had that guy gotten the lead and gotten some 5 seconds of room, he would just have taken off. An absolute beast when he gets out in front.
And we noticed that there's, at the start of the race, there's a little bit of a concertina effect as you were having to overtake the GT2 cars for the first time, but then that gap built up again as second and third at the time had to do the same. How much, I mean, first of all, how difficult is it to overtake the GT2 cars here? And secondly, how much of an advantage do you think it's being the leader, being the first one they see in their rearview mirrors?
Well, it's certainly an advantage that I didn't have anyone in close proximity to me, because I could freely sort of wait through a twisty bit where I knew a way through, so I didn't have to worry about anyone getting up alongside, challenging position on the track. So it's definitely a great advantage being alone in your own class when you're lapping traffic. And then again, around Mid-Ohio, it's a case of, if you're not getting it done in turn 3, you gotta wait till you're up till the last complex before the start finish line before you have a chance to do it. So.
And next week we're going to go to Spa-Francorchamps. You know, one of the most breathtaking tracks in not only in iRacing but in the world. You know, it's got so many different challenges to it, from Les Rouge, stuff like Fouan, the bus stop, the Coombe. It's one of the most difficult track series out there, but it's such a barrel of fun to drive at the same time. How do you think you're gonna, you know, be prepared for that next week?
Well, historically, I'm absolutely terrible at Spa. I just can't get my bearings there at all. Yeah, I'm gonna go out there and try and do my best with it, but it's not somewhere where I'm gonna stroll off.
Congratulations yet again. I believe that cements your... I think, does that put you top now of the GT1 Championship? So I'll have to do our maths. In the meantime, we'll talk to David S. Peterson, who had a difficult day, shall we say. Managed to bring the car home eventually, one lap down in, I believe, 7th position. But David, that was a very difficult day for you yet again.
Yeah, today certainly didn't go the way I was hoping it would.
And take us through the incident, first of all, from your car.
Well, let's see. I guess the qualifying didn't go the way that I was hoping. I'd never managed to get my lap down. Otherwise, I was hoping that I could be up there with the other guys. And by the time I managed to get up through the field, then Oliver was out there. I'd managed to get by Nico when he'd made a mistake. And then I figured, you know, I could hold him behind me, because I suspected I was running more fuel than he was. And it's just ridiculously easy to hold people behind you in Mid-Ohio, unless they go for something really aggressive. And when we got up to that turn going up the hill, I ended up fluffing the entry to it a little bit, and he went for it. And I'm not exactly sure whether coming together was my fault or his fault. You know, my intention was to leave space for him. I don't know if he slid wide or if I didn't leave the space I thought I did. It's a real dangerous place to try to make a pass, though, and I'm definitely sorry that it happened, you know, whether it was my fault or not.
And as you're saying, it's so difficult to make passes here at Mid-Ohio. That part of the complexion of this racetrack, that drivers have to take almost every opportunity that's presented to them, in comparison to, you know, Suzuka last week and Spa next week where, you know, there are a lot more overtaking opportunities per lap?
Yeah, that would definitely be true. And I could certainly understand him going for such an aggressive attempt. You know, yeah, because that's pretty much what it takes to make a pass around here. You have to do something a little bit crazy.
And how hard was it to drive that damaged race car? I mean, I know that you did keep it out until your the pit window opened for you to be able to, you know, come in, take fuel, and almost, you know, damage limitation. But it did seem for the entirety of that rest of that first in, and I know you had a big moment once you came out of pit lane. It looked as though you thought there was more grip than there was. How difficult was it to, you know, keep that car pointing in the straight and narrow?
It was very difficult. That car was totally redesigned. Even going down the straight, the rear end was just randomly kicking back and forth. So even going down the straightaway was difficult. It was a handful everywhere, and I think I ended up screwing up one of the Ford GTs. I think he went off the track to avoid me, and I didn't hear a bang. I really hope that I didn't end up killing him.
You didn't kill him, but his internet connection got so scared he disconnected.
Well, lucky for that, and I get, well, unlucky, or lucky it wasn't entirely my fault.
And I know that David Ward was posting in the text chat that you finished behind the pink car. David, you came home 6th, again, in a battered race car as well. So good recovery from you in the 69. It did look as though you were trying to put pressure on 5th, Carl McGurk, for a large portion of the second stint, until you had a big moment in the closing stage of the race. Did you, I'll go back to that incident first, did you just get any more damage in that incident, or was it just a case of you decided to just bring the car home and, you know, take sick for what it was?
Yeah, I just decided after that big moment just to come home. There's no point in pushing any harder because I wasn't going to gain the 9 seconds that Carl was ahead.
And let's say you've been in the wars throughout this race. It seems though that because of the tight nature of this track, at some points it's almost difficult to avoid, you know, car-to-car incidents. And was that the case really for you, or?
Well, at the start of the race, I was up front with the guys and chasing hard. I'm just watching the replay now.
Yours was lap 2, I believe, your incident.
Yeah, and it was lucky that we didn't take out some of the field. I don't even know how those guys missed me.
I had to dodge pretty hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're driving, again, a battered race car for a large portion of the race. How much on a track like this does a damaged race car affect your ability to push? Because it seems as though your lap times weren't always too far off, but it seemed in the twisted sections especially, you just couldn't drive the car like you would have been able to do normally.
Yeah, it's just the consistency. You just lose it all, and there's a little bit of mind games as well. It's like, oh, I've made a big mistake here, and you know, and then you end up pushing a little bit harder and harder and harder, and then your tyres start heating up, and then you start missing the apex, and it just has a knock-on effect.
I'm guessing for you, the most comfortable moment you had all race long was once you had the opportunity to cruise around at 45 miles an hour going down pit lane.
Yeah, that was probably the least stressful bit. I qualified quite well, and I was just really disappointed with the result. I only have myself to blame, no one else.
But going on to Spa, and I'll bring David back into this as well. You guys looking forward to the challenge that Spa presents?
No, I don't like Spa at all.
I'm looking forward to Spa myself. This is one of my worst tracks at Mid-Ohio, and Spa is one of my best, so I'm hoping things will go better for me there.
And David, I'll talk to you a moment. Sorry, Peterson, I'll talk to you because you're both David. Like Suzuka, the setup balance you have to find for Spa is a very fine line, because you've got some really fast sections of the track. I mean, you know, going down after the Rouge Radio complex, down the Kemmel Straight, and then also after Stavolo or down to the bus stop. Very, very fast sections. but then you've got some very difficult twisty bits like Fouan, Lacombe, La Source. How do you manage to find that balance in the setup?
Go on, David.
Okay. Thank you, David. I find that you can pretty much set up the car to be fast at Eau Rouge or at the whole rest of the track. And it's really quite a compromise there because Eau Rouge is such a long, fast straight where a lot of passing is going to happen. So that's kind of the trade-off that you make.
And I know Toby has been sat down patiently for the last 10 minutes. Rob saying GT2 time with a big smiley face. Toby, you came home 4th in the GT2 class. Valiant effort from you. You've been in the wars a little bit as well in the number 31 TFR machine. Take us through your race briefly.
Firstly, I was really chuffed to qualify somewhere high up. I think it was 3rd in class, but I was actually behind one of the Corvettes. That was brilliant. It was only 500ths off my optimal, so I wasn't getting much more out of that. The race start was chaotic, lots going on, and I had a really good battle with Eric initially, and then I'm not sure if you caught it on the broadcast, but there was one time where we went side by side through turn 4, and I held the outside of that corner, so I'd have the inside for the tight left that follows and plunges downhill afterwards. And a lap or two later, he also tried to brake a fair amount later from the inside and went across the grass, and unfortunately hit a few cars. He rejoined. So after that, I kind of ended up in no man's land. There's about a 6-second gap in front to Kino and Malia, who were just on another planet as usual, and the guys behind. And I had to think of, can I push like crazy here and catch those guys if they're fighting, or do I kind of not take it easy but drive within myself and go for 3rd? And as always, I'm never really happy with the position I'm in unless I'm in front, so pushed on and unfortunately made a mistake just in the twisty sections, caught a bit of grass and looped the car around, but thankfully managed to rejoin the track safely. And then following that, I came out right in the middle of a battle. I had the 3 bright blue cars, which was Dave Geimer, I think, was in front of the train, followed by Mark Bird, then Simon Geimer, and I had Jasper close behind as well. So I don't think there was more than a second between any of us, and that was really exciting for a few laps. It took me a while to get on terms, and then as Simon made a mistake out of 1 and got slightly sideways, I passed him into 2. I think I passed Mark into turn 2, and possibly Dave as well. I was fairly confident all race there on the brakes. And then after that, I was just charging. I saw after the pits that, or just before I pitted, that Peter Kiermaier was 20 seconds in front, and I managed to get that down to 8 seconds at one point before the flag, but traffic didn't go my way quite near the end, but I don't think I was going to catch them. Really enjoyable race, and I think I finished where I deserved to. I don't think I could have got another 100th out of the car on any of those laps. Only one real mistake to speak of, so really happy.
Right, I've only got time to ask you one more question. So, Spa, you looking forward to it?
I'm hugely looking forward to Spa. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to race there. It's probably going to be the only round of the season I miss. I'm a stag do, so that has to come first. But otherwise, I'd love to be there.
Enjoy the stag do and don't drink too much alcohol.
I will.
And thank you very much, everyone who's taken the time to pop by and talk to us. I guess it's time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much to Yoni and Jarno for their behind-the-scenes work. Rob, thank you very much to you for providing me with entertainment and compassion when I've messed up once again in this race.
Well, I don't know about compassion or entertainment, but thank you very much.
And don't forget, if you are still watching this and you haven't fallen asleep yet, we'll be live at Daytona for the second of the Daytona 500s in about an hour's time. Don't forget, you'll be able to watch that on Channel 2. So please don't watch Channel 1, please watch Channel 2 instead. From all of us, thank you very much for watching, and good night.